There are some stories that I come across that I try to avoid doing because the content is just a bit much for me to handle. And this is one of those stories. When I first came across it and I started reading the details, I swiped away from it. I put on some music. Usually, whenever I get bored or whenever I just need to free my mind, I throw music on, and usually it helps. But in this particular case, it just didn't help. I listened to music for a few minutes, and usually that's all it takes. But all I kept thinking about was this story. The almost like it could not leave my mind. And when you listen and hear the details of this story, it will be of no surprise as to why lamestream media did their best to bury it. Now, in this picture, you have two men, two black men, as you can tell, by the name of Ramon Smith and Jaron Moreland. They are both 21 years old. And they are both from Oklahoma. And these two men are victims of a 2018 modern day lynching. Basically, what happened is these two men were kidnapped by some devils. And I'm going to pull their pictures up first, but I wanted to give you the premise of it. They were kidnapped by some devils, beaten, stripped of their clothes, tied to cinder blocks, and were sank to the bottom of a pond, where days later their bodies turned up. As a matter of fact, they found their bodies 10 days ago. It is now April 29th. Well, probably more than 10 days ago. It is now April 29th. And they made the arrest of those devils on April 17th. I'm just absolutely sorry about that. I'm just absolutely disgusted with this entire ordeal. Now, they said that there were 4 people charged with their deaths, but I can only find pictures of 2 of them. But I'm going to pause the video right quick and see if I can find the pictures of all 4. Hold on right quick. Okay, I don't know what happened to my mic. It seemed like it had went out on me, but I pulled up the images of the 2 guys that are our main focal point of this story, as far as 2 people that were charged with their murder. Now, it said that it was 4 people charged, but these are the 2 images that keep popping up, and their names are Brett Butler and Kevin Garcia Butler. It says Brett Butler was charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder, unlawful removal of a dead body, and desecration of a corpse, as well as felony firearm possession. His brother was also charged with felony accessory to second-degree murder and unlawful removal of a corpse. It says the 2 were arrested on April 17th at a property on Oklahoma City's northeast side after attempting to flee the area along with their mother and her boyfriend. Well, okay, now we know those are the other 2. It says more police had traced Brett Butler's phone to that location after finding communications between Butler and 21-year-old Ramon Smith, whose body was found in a pond in the Sooner Road property, along with the body of 21-year-old Jaron Moreland, according to an affidavit filed in Cleveland County on April 25th. As law enforcement searched the property on April 18th, family members of the 2 men waited along the roadway for updates from the police. "We're just glad that we get some closure and we found him," said Moreland's uncle Anthony Anderson, as Moreland's grandmother sobbed into Anderson's chest. "We needed this. We needed this," she said. More police are not commenting on the case at this time. However, newly filed documents detail what officers discovered at the Sooner Road property. In a search warrant filed in Oklahoma County Thursday, more detectives observed a white Chrysler Town and Country van as they approached the residence on April 17th, matching the suspect vehicle description, and saw cleaning products and a power washer around the vehicle. Dry blood splattered on the ceiling of the van, and a bucket of water with a chainsaw bar inside and soaking in the water, along with several jigsaw blades. According to the warrant return, police found a spray bleach in the bottom half of the shop vacuum. Inside were pliers, hatchet, and chainsaw parts. The bodies, according to probable cause affidavit, had been dismembered. Court documents said Butler had arranged to purchase a gun from the Moreland and grocery store parking lot in the 1300 block of Northeastern and more. On April 14th, family of the men reported their possible abduction Saturday. Garcia Butler was driving the white Chrysler minivan with Butler in the passenger seat and Smith seated behind Butler. According to the court documents, Moreland arrived and began to enter the back seat of the van when Garcia Butler told police he heard the cocking of a gun, and his brother immediately turned around and fired approximately 4 shots from a pistol. There was apparently going to be a sale of a gun, possibly off of Craigslist, when the 2 victims entered the vehicle. See, that's why you cannot trust that Craigslist stuff. You do not trust it. And they say if you do make those type of sales, you do it in broad daylight when there's people around. If what they're saying is true. The suspects claim they heard a gun being racked or cocked. At that point, one of those individuals fired at the 2 victims that entered the van and killing them both at that time. Garcia Butler told police he got scared and sped out of the parking lot and believed Moreland and Smith to be dead. Witnesses at the scene described seeing one black male with blood covering his face and hair, and another being pulled into the van or hanging out as it drove off. A bloodied handgun and sandal were recovered at the scene. The brothers then called their mother, Crystal Butler, who told them to drive to her location at her boyfriend's family property in the 5100 block of North Sooner Road, according to a probable cause affidavit. Court documents say that when the brothers arrived, the boyfriend, Johnny Shane Barker, saw Moreland and Smith dead in the backseat of the van. Court documents say the brothers, along with Barker, removed the bodies, covered them with tarps, and attached cinder blocks around them with chains. That's when the younger Butler and Barker loaded the bodies onto a trailer and dumped them into a pond. Barker also confessed to removing parts of the vehicle interior to remove blood evidence. Court documents say Barker told police he believed the victim's clothing was removed and possibly burned in a burn barrel next to his house. The 3 men also said that Crystal Butler, age 40, helped in cleaning Moreland and Smith's blood from the interior of the van. According to court documents, Crystal was interviewed with her attorney, and when cleaning the van came up, the defendant's attorney advised they did not want to discuss her involvement in that. Barker and Crystal Butler were also charged Wednesday. Barker is facing accessory to second-degree murder, unlawful removal of a dead body, and desecration of a human corpse. Crystal is charged with 1 count of accessory to second-degree murder. Court dates for the 4 have not yet been set. This story just went from wild to worst. But that's why I say when it comes to those sales on Craigslist and things of that nature, you have to do that stuff out in the open in broad daylight when there's other people around. And apparently this sounds like it happened at night, and they were setting these guys up probably to be robbed. And it sounds like one of them knew what he was about to do and the other one wasn't in on it, but now they're all involved and they all deserve to get the most harshest punishment possible. And when I was reading the details of it, and this is how they would took their bodies, tie cinder blocks to them, and strip them of their clothes, it immediately reminded me of Emmett Till, because that's basically the same thing that happened to him. I think Emmett Till probably got it a whole lot worse, but still, this is a modern day lynching that happened to these 2 men. But all in all, I offer my condolences to their friends, their family, acquaintances, whoever was close to them. Now, I know that this is something, I mean, they were so young, only 21 years old. They were both 21. Barely into their 20s. Officially hitting quote unquote true legal status. And they meet their end by a family of maniacs. Y'all let me know what you think down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you in the next one.